A multiple award-winning singer, actor, and composer who has won international acclaim for her unique brainchild, the Sufi Gospel Project, which blends the many voices of faith to create one universal voice. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Sonam Kalra.
Thank you so much. Good evening. It's truly such an honor to be here today amidst such an incredible lineup of women speakers, thinkers, and dreamers. And I think there were some men as well, right? I'd like to thank, before I start, Prabhat Chandran, The Economic Times, Facebook, and Teamwork Arts for asking me to be a part of this very special event, this movement, which I believe is a movement for change. So before I sing this evening, here's something I'd like you to try. The next time the GPS in your car tells you to take a right, please take a left. Do it. Just do it even though everything tells you not to, including the annoying voice on your GPS. Please just do it. You may get a little lost, but chances are you'll find something that you never knew existed. That's what my roadmap for life essentially has been, and it's not something I've done in a rebellious manner. It's just something I've done with one small device to guide me, my gut, my intuition. Intuition is something we tend to ignore because we don't trust ourselves enough. We don't listen to our inner voices. Instead, we like to listen to the world and worry about what they will say, how they will react, and God forbid, what if they don't approve? We create feelings of self-doubt, feelings that paralyze us and force us to stay in our safe zone, or what we like to call our comfort zone. We forget that we have this one life, and this day, this moment in that life will come only once. So I think it's far too precious to waste it being afraid. I think that sometimes the first step to realizing who you are and what you want to be, to achieving your dream, is really quite as simple as saying it out loud, believing that you are the dream. 9 years ago, I said it out loud. I said, I am a musician. It was a little bit different from saying I'm an alcoholic, which, don't worry, I'm not. You know, when I said I am a musician, everything changed. My life changed, and today I can say I am finally home. I didn't start out as a musician, even though I was learning when I was very young, but I started as a graphic designer, and it was a job I loved and I was doing well at. So when I finally decided to quit one day, everyone was really surprised, including myself. I had been studying music alongside my job, but the long hours of advertising didn't allow me to give it the kind of practice or the time that it deserved. So one day I thought, that's it. It's time to follow my dream, and I quit. Almost as soon as I quit to study music, the best thing happened. I lost my voice for a year. I got laryngitis, I got pharyngitis, I got nodules, you name it. But I didn't give up. I battled through it, and I eventually got my voice back, and I was able to start singing again. And just when I thought things were going really well, my mother was detected with cancer, 4th stage, lung cancer. Something I find really hard to deal with even now. And my life fell apart because she was my best friend, my backbone, and she was my soulmate. She is my music. A year of radiation, chemotherapy, and alternative medicine later, she did get better, but I couldn't sing. I'd lost my voice again because my heart was so heavy with sadness. And that's when theater came into my life. And I decided to try and channel my emotions through theater. And my experience with theater taught me so much. It taught me one of the most important and valuable lessons in my life. It taught me that as long as there is truth in the moment, there will always be beauty. It taught me to stop worrying so much about failure and success and the pursuit of perfection, and instead to spend more time in the search of the truth, in the search of my truth, in the search of our truths. Even though, as I said, I was fortunate enough to start learning Indian classical music when I was a child, from teachers anyone would have given their right arms to learn from, I think it took me so long to come home to music, to truly start creating music, Because I first wanted to have something to say, something that I needed to say, my story to tell. One of my teachers once told me, she said, to sing, you have to have lived. And though I didn't understand it then, I do now. I think I have lived a little. I've lived through the 1984 riots, where we were targeted, only because we belonged to the Sikh religion. I have lived through the violence, the fear, the hatred, and the not understanding why we were made to feel different just because of a label of religion. I've lived through the Asian tsunami where my husband and I were underwater, holding onto a tree trunk and watching people around us get washed away. I have lived through the miracle of my father surviving an illness where every doctor had given up because every single organ had failed, and I know it was faith that got him through. I've lived through watching my mother battle cancer so bravely and so positively, and I have lived through the hardest of them all. I've lived through watching them both die within 2 years of each other, far too early. So I've lived through questioning God, and I've lived through questioning belief, questioning religion, and how it is supposed to unite, yet it divides us. I have lived through accepting, learning, and letting go, and finding through it all a different kind of God, a different kind of faith, a different belief in people, in God, but in finding God within people. And finally, I do have something to say, and it's called the Sufi Gospel Project. The Sufi Gospel Project is an attempt to blend the many voices of faith through music, poetry, prayer, to create one voice, a universal voice of faith. Even though I'd been singing Indian classical music, I found myself drawn to gospel music a few years before this project was born. And the one thing that I would always get asked after I'd sing a gospel music concert is, why does a girl who belongs to the Sikh religion sing Christian bhajans, or gospel music as it's called? How can you sing the music of another religion, I would get asked. And it made me wonder, why do people get so uncomfortable when someone breaks the norm, when they cannot slot you or put a tag on you? Because let's face it, inherently we as people, we love labels and genres and things that fit in neatly where they're meant to. Like a well-organized, sort of categorized email inbox, you know, everything in the place that it's supposed to be under certain labels. Our perception of organized religion works in much the same way. You're Hindu, I'm Sikh, he's Muslim, someone is Christian, someone else is Jew. Labels, you know, it makes us feel really safe to be able to label everyone. Religion puts you nicely in a little box with a neatly placed label. It then puts these boxes one on top of each other into larger containers, groups them, stacks them up so that one pile finally tips over and causes a domino effect, and then we all know what happens. All hell breaks loose. Just take a second to look at the person on your right or your left. Chances are you're not going to be able to tell who goes to which place to pray, and the fact is, it shouldn't matter either, because the truth is that many different hallelujahs and many different calls to God can and must exist in harmony, which is exactly what Sufism means, an acceptance of all humanity as equal. Gospel, the truth. And so that's when I thought, why not create through music a new truth by blurring these very, very solid lines between religions? Why not talk about acceptance of all truths as equal through music? And I'm going to stress on the word acceptance because that is far more important than tolerance. It is not enough to say, I tolerate your religion, because that means just putting up with it. Acceptance means to include and to dance with you, whatever your belief is. When I started looking for resonances of this truth of acceptance and equality, I found it everywhere. In the ancient and tradition, in the old and the new, in contemporary song, I found the same ideologies across region, religion, language, in an Irish prayer, in the Bhakti tradition, in John Lennon's Imagine. To my mind, that is the finest Sufi song ever written. In Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, in Rumi, in Rabia, in rhythm and in voices and music across the world. Rabia said so beautifully centuries ago, she says, in my soul there is a temple, a shrine, a church, a mosque that dissolve in God. Prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a church, a mosque that dissolve in God. And the more I questioned our differences, the more I found through them our similarities. And so the music of the Sufi Gospel Project is about realizing that each of us has our own truth. And whether you find that truth in a temple or a shrine or a church or a mosque, the important thing to remember is that each truth is just as valid. The Sufi Gospel Project is about bringing together the many voices of faith, where the gospel of amazing grace blends into the Sikh morning prayer, where the voice of Persian Sufi poet Rumi echoes in the words of the poet Kabir Das all the way across to the poetry of European poet Emily Dickinson. The Sufi Gospel Project is about faith. And it perhaps to some people is about fusion, but it's not fusion in the term that's bandied about. It is a fusion of faith. And it is not just about God. It is about good. It's about taking God out of spaces and finding Him, and more importantly, her, in one's heart and in the heart of the person next to you. It's about standing up for equality of people, of gender, of acceptance, unity, secularism, and individuality. It's about freedom from definitions, distinctions, and the labels of religions. And it's about pausing to listen to each other. For often we're shouting so loudly, we don't realize that we are saying the same thing. So the music of the Sufi gospel, which I will share with you by singing to you, is really, if I had to put it across in one sentence, is about a very simple fact, that religion is not God. And God has no religion. Thank you. So the first piece, wow, okay. That's my music mic. So the first piece that we will present to you is about speaking out. It's about using your voice to make a change, because the greatest injustice you can commit is not using your voice to speak out against injustice. And I really believe if one voice speaking out against injustice can be powerful, then the power of our collective voices speaking out is even greater. So in the words of the legendary poet, one of my greatest inspirations, Faiz Ahmad Faiz, "Bol ke lab azad hain tere, bol ke lab azad hain tere, बोल ज़बां अब तक तेरी है, तेरा सुतवा ये जिस्म है तेरा, बोल के जान अब तक तेरी है." Speak out, because your lips, they are still free. Speak out because your tongue, it is your own. Your body is your own. Your life, it is your own. Speak out, speak out, speak out. That's pretty sort of specific. The minute we ask you to speak out, they silence me. All right, I think we're going to give this another shot. बोल के ना आजाद हैं तेरे, बोल ज़बान अब तक तेरी है, तेरा सुतवा जिस्म है तेरा, बोल के जान अब तक तेरी है, बोल के लब आजाद हैं तेरे, बोल ज़बान अब तक तेरी है, तेरा सुतवा जिस्म है तेरा, बोल के जान अब तक तेरी है, देख के आहंगर की दुकान में धुंध है शोले सुर्ख है आहन, खुलने दाने फूलों के दाने, फैला हर एक जंजीर का दामन, बोल के लब आजाद है तेरे, बोल ज़बान तक तेरी है, एक आवाज़ है हम, बोलो एक आवाज़ है हम, बोलो एक आवाज़ है हम, बोलो एक आवाज़ है हम, एक आवाज़ है हम, बोलो एक आवाज़ है हम। बोलिए थोड़ा वक्त बहुत है, जिस्मो ज़बान की मौत से पहले, बोल के सच जिंदा है अब तक, बोल जो कुछ कहना है कह ले, बोलिए थोड़ा वक्त बहुत है, जिस्मो ज़बान की मौत से पहले, बोल के सच जिंदा बोल के लब आजाद है तेरे, बोल जबान तक तेरी है, एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम, बोलो एक आवाज है हम. Thank you so much. The next piece we will present to you is something, again, from the Sufi Gospel Project. And as I said to you, when we were looking for resonances, we found them everywhere. And we found this resonance in the poetry, and I will say poetry because to my mind he was one of the finest, not just singer-songwriters, but poets that this generation has known. I found this in the words of Leonard Cohen. And apparently he was so inspired by this beautiful thought that he was conveying in this song that he wrote close to 80 verses of the song. We added a verse. We will not be singing all 81 of them tonight, lucky for you. So you can actually go out and have that cup of tea that you're perhaps waiting to have. But this is called Hallelujah. And it conveys a very simple yet very pertinent thought that many different hallelujahs, many different calls to God can exist in harmony. Can you get the keys on, please? Keyboard, please. Could we get the keyboard on, please? Thank you for your patience. And I say this while I'm thanking me for my patience as well. I think that was the voice of God, the clap of thunder. It was the voice of God indeed. A secret chord that David played, and it pleased goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her there upon the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. Delilah tied you to a chair. She broke your throne. She cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. Thank you. And we're quickly going to do the last song for the evening because, well, it's always our last song. This is based on the poetry of Baba Bulle Shah. And in this, Baba Bulle Shah says, my guru taught me a wonderful lesson. He taught me that my Kaaba, my Qibla, my masjid, my mandir, my temple, my shrine, my church, my mosque is not within the four walls of a building, but within the walls of my heart and within the walls of the heart of the person next to me. And now that I have this knowledge, I will wear my ankle bells and I will dance because I am free from the shackles and burdens and rituals of religion. Alfat in bin, un bin, an bin, nukta yar padhaya re. If any of you kind of got that, perhaps you'd like to sing it with us. The more the merrier. Would you like to try? So I'll say it slowly again so that you can try. It's Alfat in bin, un bin, an bin, nukta yar padhaya re. Right? Alfat in bin. We're obviously talking about keeping it very green and clean. In bin, un bin, an bin, nukta yar padhaya re. All right. Oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you, because we wanted to make the world a smaller place, we took Punjabi poetry, we collaborated with the Rajasthani Manganiyar. I composed it over the phone with Ehsan. We also wrote a verse in Persian on WhatsApp, and then we added an Irish melody to it. Just saying. बोले शहर बनता रे आके बोले शहर बनता रे बिस्ती नाम डराया आके बोले शहर बनता रे बिस्ती नाम डराया हो बंद कर तेरा चम 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 हो बंद कर तेरा चम 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 सन रुकनाया बनाया अल्फतेन बिन मुन बिन बिन नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया अल्फतेन बिन मुन बिन बिन नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया सानो राजू शब्द सिखाया नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया सानो राजू शब्द सिखाया अल्फतेन बिन मुन बिन बिन नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया 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 दिंता दिंता दिन तनन तेरे दारी दिंता दिंता दिन तनन तेरे ना दिंता दिंता दिन तनन तेरे दारी तनन तेरे दारी तनन तेरे ना सानी गा 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 सानी सानी गा गा सानी गा गा सानी गा गा सानी सानी गा गरी गा गा गरी गा गा सानी गा मा गा मा रे गरी गा गा गरी गा गा सानी गा मा गा मा रे सानी गा गा सानी गा गा सानी गा रे सानी गा गा सानी गा गा सानी गा गा सानी गा रे सानी गा गा गरी गा मा मा गरी रे सानी गरी गा मा मा गरी रे सानी गा मा गा मा रे सानी रे सानी गा मा गा मा रे सानी रे सानी सानी गा रे गा मा गा मा गरी सानी सानी गा रे गा मा गा मा गरी सानी गा रे गा मा गा मा गरी सानी रे सा अल्फतेन बिनोन बिन नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया 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 नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया सानो राजू शब्द सिखाया नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया सानो राजू शब्द सिखाया अल्फतेन बिनोन बिन नुक्ता याद पढ़ाया 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 धर्मनस्तु अल्लाह 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 धर्मनस्तु Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Aman Ali Khan, ladies and gentlemen. Ehsan Ali, Tarit Pal, Alex Fernandez, and Rajesh Prasanna. And just as an aside, thank you. Each of us belongs to a different religion as well, and we didn't know this when we came together, but it was further testament to what we were trying to say. And once again, thank you, Prabha Chandran, Economic Times, Facebook, Teamwork Arts, and to everybody who I don't know but has been working so hard to make this event come together. To each of you, thank you for sharing in our music and our message. Good night. Thank you. Alex, you want to take a bow?
Thank you. Thank you, Sonam. Sonam Kalra, ladies and gentlemen, and her fabulous musicians. Thank you for transporting us right out of the regal room of the Trident to a different realm altogether. A fitting farewell on this very, very enriching day.